Trained professionals!
Right, some texts and tweets and such like from last night. By the way, Angela, out of the Labour Party, there are particular rules for senior Tories which don't apply to anybody else. How many senior Tories are in jail right now? Is the answer none?
Yes.
They don't go to jail, they go to the House of Lords. One rule for them and another for us. Of course there blooming well is. Anyway, some texts and tweets from last night. Gary says, Nick, can't these Insulate Britain lot glue their fingers to my house instead of the M25? Therefore, insulating my house, problem solved, says Gary, who's been thinking. This text says, just past 5 garages on the A406 and there's crazy queuing. What next? Loo rolls? Lol. Lol. What do you mean, lol? There's nothing a lol about. Peter says the government allowed the big energy companies to reduce their gas stocks by 70%. We're in this mess directly because of this ridiculous decision. Chris says, hi, Nick. I'm sure I saw a report recently that said that the Tories allowed Centrica to demolish 70% of our gas storage capacity a few years ago. Thinking as with the same brain. Julian says, if people would just queue more quickly, everything would return to normal. That's right, people. Queue more quickly. And this says, feels like we're all on the Titanic, and the orchestra, the government, carries on playing regardless. Yeah, what a tune. Everything is fine. That's not an iceberg. Come in, the water's lovely. Thank you for travelling with Bodger boats. Bodger boats. We're not drowning, we're waving. Oh, I know something you don't know. I have in my hand a missive from Her Majesty's government, but, the news on this piece of paper, you won't believe it. Our problems are solved. But I can't tell you about it because it's a secret. I can't tell you what's on this piece of paper until 10:30. I think I might burst before 10:30 comes around. That's 23 minutes away. What I want to tell you now...
Stop whining.
Yes, this is embargoed information. The government has leapt into action and has saved the country. Appreciate it, Bodger.
Thank you.
But I can't tell you about it now. I can tell you about it at 10:30, but not now. I can read it to myself. Wow. Oh, that's fantastic. But I can't read it out loud. So, not now, later. Nick texts, I saw people shouting and swearing at drivers queuing at a petrol station in Harpenden this afternoon. This was yesterday. The queue was blocking both lanes. This could end in fisticuffs, he says. Hey, guess what, Nick? It has. Under the headline, Kung Fuel Fighting, the Mail Online says, furious motor... Always with the fury. I mean, have you ever in your life felt the emotion of fury? I mean, think... because it's a pretty strong emotion, fury, and yet pretty much every story that's not about the weather in the Mail and similar newspapers starts with the word fury. Fury as sun comes up in the east. Does it come up in the east? Yeah. The sun comes up in the east. This is an educational programme, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, the sun comes up in the east. Of course it blooming well does. Stupid. Under the headline Kung Fuel Fighting, it says furious motorists have been seen fighting as the nationwide rush for fuel continued today amid calls for calm from the government. Which may have something to do with it. I mean, we heard the government say that there's nothing to worry about, and what we heard was...
Emergency, everybody to get from street. Emergency, everybody to get from street.
Completely shocking footage shows panic buyers punching and kicking each other during a violent brawl at an Esso petrol station forecourt in Sidlesham in Chichester, as roads were left gridlocked and police had to be called in to marshal drivers. A situation also known as normal for Sidlesham. 2 men were seen grappling before throwing punches at one another, while another enraged motorist launched a flying kick at another man as the scramble for fuel turned violent in the sleepy West Sussex village. The whole world's gone crazy. Well, I was here first. The two men were seen grappling before throwing them. We got that bit. The flying kick, that was the kung fuel part. Get it?
No.
Funny, yes? Thousands of desperate What? Not furious? Desperate now. Thousands of desperate drivers ignored government pleas for calm as they jammed roads with fears mounting over the impact of lasting fuel shortages on the economy. Have we still got an economy left? That's the problem when you've got a government that's famous for not telling the truth about anything. Liar! I mean, when they tell you to stay calm as there are no problems, our reaction immediately is to freak out. Whatever the government says is the case is usually the opposite of what is actually true. I mean, you can only fool us so many times. We're not listening to you anymore. I mean, if you have to drive, apart from anything else, if you've got to drive miles out of your way to join a small-ish queue to get petrol before you run out, that's a problem. Telling us there is no problem is not solving the problem. And the problem is caused by, can you guess? Starts with a B. Fuel is in short supply because of the absence of drivers to transport it from source to stations. Same thing that's causing every other problem that's facing us. Empty shelves, food unpicked, farm products going to waste, animals killed because there's no abattoir workers. Which seems odd, because there's no one to kill the animals. We're going to have to kill them. But I'm no farm expert, so don't ask me. And there's a lack of bus drivers and bin collectors and carers and every other sector of the economy that relied on foreign workers before we went mad and thought we could recreate the days of old when Britannia ruled the waves. Oh, God, not this one again. I can't stand it. Make it stop. According to fuel bosses, just 1% of Britain's petrol stations are empty. 1% are empty. But that doesn't correspond to what I've seen driving around. I mean, I'm no expert, and my experience might not be representative of the whole, but I'd say that half the petrol stations I passed were shut, with hoods over the pumps, and the other halves had queues down the street and around the corner. I mean, we've got lights about to go out because successive governments have not planned for the future decommissioning of our nuclear power stations. There's empty shelves in the supermarket. Prices are going through the roof. People are doing 3-day weeks. It couldn't feel more like 1974 if we had David Essex, the 3 Degrees, and Charles Aznavour in the charts. Anyone want to hear that?
No.
I prefer Slade, Sweet and the Rubettes myself.
Rock and roll!
Sugar Baby Love. So I was driving around and around and around like... Well, that's not exactly true. I took my normal route home and I thought, it's after 1 o'clock in the morning when I went home last night. It'll be easy peasy to get filled up. Was it?
No.
Of course not. So many people around. Am I the only one who's a bit alarmed by the amount of people that are around? It's almost as though everyone's dismissed the whole notion of COVID being a thing anymore. Oh, yeah, don't worry about that. That's in the past. There's just crowds and crowds and crowds. It just feels a bit, I don't know, abnormal. I mean, I know it's actually normal, but we've been, for the last year and a half, I haven't been used to any of that. I mean, the centre of London is absolutely packed. And all I see when I look around is vectors for disease. Every single... I mean, if you could just stop breathing out, I'd feel a lot more comfortable. And the traffic... So anyway, I go home last night, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I thought, there's a petrol station just down there on the South Bank. I'll go there. There won't be anybody there, because there never is. It's where I often fill up, and there's never anybody there, ever, ever, ever. There was a queue from here to the moon and back to get into that petrol station. So I thought, that's the centre of town. Don't worry about a thing. It'll get much, much more easy the further away out of the centre I get. Did it?
No.
Of course not. People are freaking out. 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm still driving. I've gone into and then straight out of maybe a half a dozen petrol stations because they kind of looked like they were open until you got up to the pumps and you saw that each pump had a bag over it and there was nobody in the shop anymore. Shop lights were out, but the lights on the forecourt were on. Tricking me. So, you come up on a petrol station and there's no queue, and you think, oh, great. No, not great. Not open. So I drove, and finally there's a supermarket petrol station that I don't normally go to because I was told once that the petrol that comes out of that particular supermarket petrol station is rubbish. You might as well put bong water in your car. But I thought, oh well, it's petrol. It's sort of like petrol. It's a petrol-like substance. I'll squirt that up my car. And I joined this queue at about 2:30 in the morning. In the morning. In a place that's normally absolutely deserted at that time of day. And I just sat there, and I sat there, and I sat there, and I sat there, and like 20 minutes later, I hadn't moved an inch. And everybody ahead of me was like honking their horns, and I thought, oh, forget this. There's another couple of petrol stations which were way more expensive ordinarily just up the way there. I'll go to one of those. Closed. And finally, I can't quite believe my good fortune, but the last petrol station I see before I get to home, they had a smallish queue of maybe 20 cars going in. And so I did a quick U-E, which was probably illegal, and joined the back of that queue. And, of course, other people that came along were on the left-hand side of the road, and people coming down the right-hand side, they want to go straight into the petrol station without going to the end of the queue and doing a U-turn and then coming back. And see, this is where the fury starts. And people are honking their horn and, you know, all of that. And I finally got in there and I thought, well, I'm going to wait here for ever and a day, and by the time I get there, they're going to be fresh out of fuel. But they weren't. The poor bloke behind the glass looked like he'd never been so busy. I would imagine normally it's selects from the pick and mix and puts his feet up and has a snooze for about 5 hours overnight. Not last night. And it was petrol all over the place. I mean, it was virtually up to my ankles in spilled petrol, presumably because morons were filling cans. There was a moron filling a can just in front of me. He'd forgotten to fill the can, and he got to the front of the queue to pay. He said, "Oh, I want to fill up my can as well." We're surrounded by them. So anyway, I got a lot of fuel, and if it happens again, I'm going to put water in my tank to mix the fuel half and half, thereby making it last longer. What could possibly go wrong? 0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nicka@lbc.co.uk, and if you're furious and on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
Well, the whole world's gone crazy.
Yeah, you got that right. Rob texts, well done to all the greedy, selfish, Brexit voting pensioners for buying up all the fuel while everyone else was working. Can we all just start to get along?
No.
Apparently not. This text said, Farage didn't want Romanians living next door to him. Now Bodger the Clown has no choice but to invite EU workers back after doing all that he could to get rid of them. Well, you may say that. I couldn't possibly comment.
This is absolute tosh.
And Gaz says, concerning the lorry drivers, it's not just about higher wages for HGV drivers, it's about how one is treated, how clean and sanitary access to showers, toilets, food, little things like that, says Gaz. Little things, for the little people. Wanstead, hello, Sophie.
Nick, how are you?
Great, mate.
Before I go on and talk to you about the two things I've called about...
Are you kidding me? Three things? Three things you've got?
Well, you did say the problem starts with B, but you didn't say whether it was Bojo or Brexit, but that's not why I rang.
Right.
The petrol, I think we've been so pampered and mollycoddled in this society, and we expect everything yesterday. And now we're experiencing a little bit of what people in poor countries experience, and maybe it's our turn a little bit, and maybe we'll develop a little bit of empathy.
Oh yeah,
for people.
Yeah, that's what we'll do. Develop empathy rather than going around killing each other for the last ham sandwich.
Well, the nice people will be more empathetic. But I just think our society is just crazy. Mm-hmm. And we're so, like I said, we've got an abundance of everything. And I passed the petrol station and it said diesel, out of diesel, and petrol station not far from me. There were about 20 cars backing onto the road.
Yeah.
It's just madness. It's just... People are mad. People have...
If you put your ear up to society, this is what you'll hear. We've all lost our minds.
And we're selfish, and we just... But I'm not. I don't drive anyway, so I don't have this petrol problem.
Oh, little Miss Perfect over here.
But I do have a problem with tea.
Tea?
Now, tea.
Tea?
Now, I've moved offices...
What, the letter T, or... The meal?
The beverage.
The meal? The beverage, right, okay.
So I've moved offices, and before it was very convenient for me because you had an American caller on yesterday talking about granulated tea. Mm-hmm. Now, no disrespect to Americans, but I wouldn't take any advice about tea
from an American. No.
But I used to be able to toddle off to the office opposite me, and there was a kettle.
What does that actually look like when you're toddling? Can you show that for us?
I think it's a verb that is not used enough, Nick.
Right.
But now I've moved offices and I've gone downstairs, so I don't have access to a
tea-making facilities, yes.
Yep, and they're in the staff room, but that's miles away, and I don't want to. By the time break time is over, I have no time to go there. So I am thinking of joining the dark side and getting granulated tea and getting powdered milk and putting it in my...
God, why bother?
I'm sorry.
I mean, what's the point? Just have water.
Well, I've been drinking like a goldfish because I've not had access to tea. And in 2 weeks, I've drunk 2 cups of tea. And anyone who works in a school will tell you that actually it's fuel.
Yeah, the tea is less the fuel. I think it's the sugar that goes in it is what's fueling you, Sophie.
Now, I have not used sugar for decades, for years in tea.
Right.
And it's actually
as I was
nicer.
saying, it's the tea that's fueling you.
But I will.
Is there a point? Is there a point to this? Is this your main point, or is this still? Are we still on a sub point?
No, this is the main.
This is the main point.
I do agree about the tea yesterday.
Right.
So yes, I will take tea advice
Granulated
from an American.
tea. Yeah. No. Thank. I mean, no. I'm not going to say no. I'm going to say no. Thank you. I mean, it's good manners don't cost nothing, do they?
Be polite.
No, thank you. All right. Oh God, there's more.
Hold on. No, the petrol and the toilet paper. People need to calm down.
Yeah. Calm down, people. No, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. We're not interested in calming down. Calming down is out. Calming down is yesterday's news. Keep up, Sophie. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Cliff M tweets, are we clapping the petrol station workers tomorrow at 8 p.m? I tell you what, it has given us a new appreciation of people what drive lorries, though, hasn't it? I mean, they were pretty invisible before. They were just someone to honk your horn at. Have you got indicators on that, mate? You know, that sort of thing. We appreciate them now. Every single thing you've got in your home came to your home on a lorry, at least partly. Comes on a ship, gets loaded onto a lorry, and sometimes they get stuck on a van. I was thinking about this the other day. I've gone through an entire week of not having anything delivered to the home, to my home. And it's just such a sense of great freedom. because there's so much that gets delivered. I mean, you get stuff delivered all the time, and they very rarely give you a precise time when it's coming. I mean, sometimes they don't even give you the day. I mean, there's a place what does wine,
Booze.
and they don't even tell you what day it's coming. Oh, it'll be sometime this week. Don't worry about it. Well, I am worrying about it. And often it will be, at the most precise, it will be like a 2-3 hour window, something like that. Some bizarre time. So we'll deliver it for, between 11:47 and 1:47. That seems weirdly specific. You know, it's going to be around midday, somewhere like that. But I've just gone an entire week without having anything delivered to the house, and it just feels like freedom. It just feels like I can do anything I like. I can leave and go on a walk. I'm not chained to the front door, waiting for a knock or a bing bong. And by the time you get there, they've left a note that says, sorry, you were out. 0345 6060 973. I wonder if I've got time to fit one in here. I'll try. Hackney. Hello, Richard.
Hello, Nick. I love the ones that say we will deliver sometime between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Yeah, right.
I think, well, I'm glad you narrowed it down. Otherwise, I'd have stayed in all day. I mean, I want to talk about trucks and trucking.
Right.
I've got a couple of questions.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not a problem down to Brexit, why will giving people visas fix it?
Right.
If it's a global problem, how can we import more truckers? Because apparently there aren't any.
Right. Yeah, they forgot about that, didn't they? I mean,
They did.
On the one hand, they say, it's got nothing to do with Brexit because everywhere's suffering like this. We'll bring some lorry drivers that aren't doing anything in Europe over to fix our problem. Oh, no, wait a minute. That's right. It doesn't work.
Can I tell you why importing like 5,000 more lorry drivers won't work?
Go on.
Because what we've done is we've cut ourselves out of the European hub. Now, people think that a lorry driver is someone who starts off in Brussels, delivers a load to Birmingham, picks up a load in Birmingham, takes it back to Brussels.
Right. Incorrect.
That's not how it works.
No.
They pick up 2 loads in Brussels, they drop off 1 in Paris, they pick up 1 for London.
Yeah.
They go to London, they drop off 1 in London, they pick up 1 for Birmingham.
Mm-hmm.
They go to Birmingham, they drop off 2 in Birmingham, they pick up 1 for London and 1 for Devon. They then go to London, they drop off 1 in London, they pick up 1 for Paris.
All in one day. How do they do it?
Or in 2 days. But the thing is that guy who lives in Brussels and is perfectly happy in Brussels and wants to live there because they serve mayonnaise with chips.
Oh, God.
But his day-to-day job includes delivering stuff from Devon to London, from London to Birmingham, from Birmingham to London.
Yeah.
And now his company has just cut off the entire UK part of that strand.
Yeah.
This is why there are no empty shelves in the EU.
Anywhere else.
This is why there is no fuel shortage in the EU. This is why even though they're short 4,000 drivers, we're short 100,000, but they continue to have a system that works, is because it's all done in little jumps and stages.
Yeah, it's almost as though Brexit's not a very good idea. If only somebody had said something before we all went out to vote, but I didn't hear a single word against it. Richard, I'm going to have to leave it there, but thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Look at the time. It's 10:30 on LBC, the news headlines with Zora Sullivan.
And remember, darling, I don't work before 10 in the morning and never after 4:30 in the afternoon.
That's a European HGV driver. 0345 6060 973. Wolverhampton. Oh, I've got this information. I have a piece of information in my hand. I can tell it to you now. But first, I have to take this call in Wolverhampton. Hello, Neil.
Hello there, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
Thanks. Oh, do you know what? I'm actually quite pleased there's a shortage of drivers. It's because they actually appreciate us now. For 33 years I've been driving and you know, and we've had foreign drivers in. And so what happens is it cascades and say, oh, it's all right, I can only pay them £14 an hour. We can pay them £10 an hour because you're doing it for foreign drivers.
Yeah.
And now there's no shortage of drivers. Oh, they want to pay us more money. But they don't. If you go into if you just tap in, on any job site, there and see, and they still want to pay £10 an hour, £9 an hour to get away with it.
I thought I thought the drivers now were being offered £5,000 golden hellos and £10,000 golden hellos and all the rest of it. Never mind about the bye-byes.
Bye-bye.
It's the golden hellos.
Yes, well, if it's out there, yes. No, not really, no. And can I say to you about
hang on a minute. I mean, I've read so many stories about drivers are now being offered £50,000 a year and £60,000 a year. Are you telling me it's not true?
No, because I've got drivers who want to do tanker drivers, but they don't want to take them. I've got HGV1 drivers and 7.5-ton drivers that want to become like the tanker drivers. No, they're not interested, to tell you the truth. So it's not out there. So, and by the way, about the parcel between 11 till 3, what about the people that actually ordered 24 hours and paid extra £5 and you knock on their door and they're not in? So why do they pay for 24 hours? Come on. There you go.
Morons.
See, it goes both ways.
We're surrounded by morons.
No, but the thing is, at the end of the day, is that it is now... whole years I've been working long hours, unsociable hours, and it's not about the money, it's about quality of life, and they've never got it. And all of a sudden now, we're in the... I don't want us to clap on a Thursday or pots and pans. Just recognise us, you know, it gives us a decent wage, and that's all it is about. And now we're recognised that, we haven't got enough drivers. No, the EU can't cope, so if they can't cope, how are we going to cope?
Well, they're coping a lot better than we are.
Well, if they are, that's their problem. But we got a problem over here, and we haven't got enough HGV drivers. Right. So all the people out there, start putting your hands in your pocket and give us a bit of more of a decent wage, some good hours, and not working all that. What's the point of government putting up the driving hours? Who does that benefit? Does that benefit the drivers or does that benefit the companies?
The government is running around like a headless chicken. They have got no idea what to do from 1 minute to the next. They just keep throwing these ideas out, and let's see if this one sticks. And if that doesn't work, well, here's another one. And I mean, it's just like they're rummaging around in the box of desperation for their next idea.
That's right. So what's going to be? We'll be doing 20 hours a day. No, It's not. It's not about that. It's not about them. It's about quality of life and drivers working late and everything, and they're parked up and things like that. They don't see their families. They don't see it. And that's what it's all about. It's about quality of life.
And the money.
And drivers today don't get it. Yeah. And now
and a little bit of money.
We're going to be standing up. We'll be pots and pans on a Wednesday, banging for drivers.
Right. Okay. Well, that should be our new national slogan: banging for drivers. Thanks a lot, Neil. Kath says, apparently we're 100,000 lorry drivers short, so how is issuing temporary visas to 5,000 European drivers going to fix this? Even if they bring in the army to shoot the problem, even if they bring in the army to drive lorries as well, she says, there are only 10,000 of them, so we'd still be 85,000 drivers short. Kath, this is just mathematics. She says, Nick, I'm honestly worried and I don't see a way out of this anytime soon. Well, stop counting, Kath. Problem solved. Maths is not your friend. OK, this news embargoed until 9 minutes ago. This is hot news. Are you ready? More than 10,000. This isn't really news. Everybody knows this already. Why was this embargoed until 10:30? These things come in all the time. Oh, this is so top secret, you can't tell anybody until a certain specified time that we've just dreamt up out of nowhere for no particular reason. Why? Why is this embargoed till 10:30? This makes me furiously angry. More than 10,000 foreign workers will be temporarily permitted to work as lorry drivers and in the food sector as ministers look to rescue Christmas from supply shortages. They're trying to rescue Jesus' birthday. More than 10,000 foreign workers, not drivers. This is foreign workers in total. A temporary visa scheme will see opportunities created for 5,000 HGV drivers and 5,500 poultry workers to take up employment in the UK until Christmas Eve. And then we'll kick you out again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Are you kidding me? Until Christmas Eve. And then you've got to get out. This is in a bid to keep supermarket shelves stocked with turkeys and toys and to counter delivery difficulties at petrol stations. Transport Secretary Grant Shapps said... I mean, does it really matter? Transport Secretary Grant Shapps, he's the Transport Secretary this week. Can you believe that?
No.
We're doomed. He said the changes with the visas available from next month would ensure that preparations remain on track for the festive season. Well, excuse me, Mr. Expert Transport Secretary, what do you know about it? Retailers had warned the government that it had just 10 days to save Christmas from, quote, significant disruption.
Oh, no.
This is due to a shortfall of about 100,000 drivers in the freight sector. So great news. We got 100,000 drivers short, and they're going to create an opportunity for 5,000 drivers to come from Europe. There's just one fly in the ointment, just one tiny, itsy-bitsy little problem with that. Those drivers have got to want to come here. This government, they just wave their arms in the air as though they're performing magic tricks. Oh, we'll just solve it with prestidigitation. And it's fixed. So they're going to allow 10,000 foreign workers who are desperate to come here, you know, to come to a place that they've been yelled at for 5 years, to go back to where they came from. They can't wait to get back here to get abused for their accent and their clothes and, you know, everything else about them. This country's lost its mind. I mean, seriously, we're an international laughingstock. If it wasn't for the continuing presence of you-know-who, then we would be the laughingstock of the world.
Oh, shut up!
Fortunately, Donald Trump's still there or thereabouts. Thank you, Donald. Thank you for being even more ridiculous than what's going on here.
Don't be rude.
The British Chamber of Commerce President, Baroness McGregor Smith, said the changes, these are the 10,000 foreign workers who will be allowed. We are allowing them to come here, and they should be very grateful.
Thank you.
That we're allowing them to come here, but only for a limited time. We'll kick you out on Christmas Eve. 10,000 foreign workers, 5,000 drivers, 5,500 poultry workers to, strangle chickens for Christmas. British Chamber of Commerce President Baroness McGregor Smith said changes were the equivalent of throwing a thimble of water on a bonfire, as it will not be enough to address the scale of the problem. Wow, it's almost as though we're being run by somebody who doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Almost. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Hey, have you heard who we're desperately trying to get a source of chickens from? Chickens and turkeys? You know, in order to save Christmas? Bodger's out prostrating himself in front of, various undesirables. Please help us. This is what we've become. This is our new future. Crawling across the carpet on our knees, begging for help from just whoever happens to be in the room. It's freedom, people. Freedom. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
I'd like to punch him in the face.
This email says, thanks to Bojo, we're now living in Little Britain. Yeah, and it's not funny. Cam tweets, apparently no one is panic buying fuel in Scotland. Maybe they have more faith in their leader. Is that true? No one's panic buying fuel in Scotland? Pete says, I haven't even got a car. The garage opposite my house is closed. I need some bread. Hey, Pete.
Stop whining.
Paulasaurus tweets, Nick, I went to Asda to buy popcorn to watch the show unfold, but they'd run out. And Adrian says, I thought I'd treat my girlfriend to somewhere very busy and really expensive for a Saturday night, so I took her to the petrol station. Have you seen the price of petrol? What? It's like it's the best part of £1.40 a gallon. Gallon. Wow. Can you imagine what it costs a gallon? A litre Why do they sell it in litres, but we buy our cars dependent on its miles per gallon? Hello? Is this thing on? Cumbran. Hello, Philip.
Hello there.
Hello there.
Hello. Yeah. When you got cancer, you don't put a sticking plaster on it to cure it. You've got to get rid of it. And we are suffering from the cancer of Brexit. I would say that because I'm a Remainer, and I do believe...
I think it's pronounced Ramona.
No, it's all to do with us leaving the EU, and I will continue to call out these politicians that told lies, that told distortions, and I want to call out the people as well that fell for this rubbish.
Yes.
You know, and
continue to defend it.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not saying that a certain percentage of Brexit people did genuinely believe in Britain being out of it, but a lot of them were fooled by it.
Yes.
And I also make another comment.
Shall I précis that thought for you? I don't like saying I told you so, but I told you so, I told you so, I told you so.
Yeah. But the real Winston Churchill, not the ones on the M25 stopping the traffic. He gave the famous V victory sign, and we saved Europe. But now we've turned history.
We saved Europe.
Well, in the Second World War, of course, we
did. Well, maybe.
Well, that's on the Americans.
And the Russians, I think, had a small part to play.
Yeah. I get. But the thing is, you can turn that around now. We've given the two fingers to the EU, and it doesn't
mean victory.
Problem.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, Philip. 0345 6060 973. What do you think about that, Budge?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Totally in agreement. Colm emails, on a Chigwell street, one of my aunts witnessed a mass brawl and multiple stabbings outside a crack house. She said she was cleaning the front windows and it was like a war zone. She went to a different door to dust off the hall carpet by hitting it against a wall, and 10 armed cops surrounded her and she got nicked. I did warn her. What on earth are you talking about? She went to a D' front door. Is it worth actually trying to untangle that?
No.
I don't really think so. Maybe a little bit of editing, perhaps. Are you reading any of these before you give them to me to speak on the air? Huh?
I am.
That's a no. I am. You're reading them and you're not understanding them, and yet you're putting them in front of my face to read on the radio. I am a trained professional. Haley says, come on, Nick, fly that flag and believe. What's up with you? Bodger is doing his best. The fish are happy and we have our sovereignty in it. Much love and many Ramona hugs, says Haley. Appreciate the hugs, Haley.
Thank you.
Let's have Galicia in Spain. James.
Just about the COVID restrictions. Well, here in Spain, everybody's still wearing a mask in school. Everybody's wearing a mask on the streets, even in the small shops on public transport. And in the summer, I was back in the UK, and it's like it's never happened, really.
Yeah. Well, you should see it now. I mean, the crowds in the West End now are like it's never, like you say, like it's never happened. People are thinking, oh, well, that's over. And it just looks a bit weird. I find it uncomfortable to be around packed places because it just looks like this is a centre of disease. Get away from me, people.
Yeah, when we were back, we were just almost scared to go out, really, because everyone's wearing a mask. And on the North Coast where we are, there are virtually no cases now, so...
Yeah, I've been on the train this week, and I've been wearing a mask on the train. If there's people in the carriage, I put a mask on. But I'm pretty much the only one who's doing that. It just feels a bit weird now. I feel like I'm in the wrong for doing the right thing.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not obligatory in the UK, because people don't seem to be taking responsibility.
Well, we're getting... people say we're getting mixed messages, but we're not getting mixed messages. The message that the government is giving us is that they have vanquished the virus. Bodger Johnson has fought it to the ground. He's wrestled it into submission, and he emerges victorious. That's why none of the Tories in the Commons are wearing masks, and pretty much the entire Labour benches and everybody else in there is wearing a mask. That all the Tories aren't wearing a mask because, for the same reason that Republicans in America are not wearing a mask, because it's now it's a political thing. It's not a health thing anymore. It's a political thing. We are strong and we have conquered the virus, is the message that Bodger is giving us, because he's done absolutely everything else concerning the virus completely right in every respect. But good to know that somebody is still paying attention. Thanks a lot, James. 0345 6060 973. Scott says, I wonder if after we are... I was reading that. Where is it? Oh, yeah. I wonder if we are mentally conditioned to go back to old measurements and probably currency. We'll have to repaint the Brexit bus to say, we send 700 million shillings to the EU a week. Yeah, I can't wait to get all of that money that's coming back from the European Union. Unless that bus and everybody that's sat upon it wasn't telling the truth. Liar! I mean, that wouldn't happen, would it? They wouldn't lie to us about a thing like that, would they? Rob says, well done. Oh no, I've done that one. I'm way ahead of schedule. Oh, it's a cartoon that discombobulated me momentarily. One of it's a story. Are you sitting comfortably? Or as Priti Patel would say, sit up straight. It's one of Priti Patel's military boats. You know, the ones that they're pretending they're going to push little dinghies around and back out to sea and let them drown. You've probably seen this on social media. One of the military personnel is yelling to a boat full of damp refugees, could any of you drive a lorry? Almost funny. Kind of, a little bit. If it wasn't... It would be funnier if it wasn't so true. It's actually happening to us right now. Jake tweets, hey Nick, is a hot dog a sandwich? That's an excellent question, Jake. It's a difficult one. Is a hot dog a sandwich? What constitutes a sandwich? Does it have to be flat bread? No. Yeah. Is a bun a sandwich? Like if you had like meat in a roll, would that be a sandwich? And does like those tubular rolls, do they count as a roll, or does it have to be like flat sliced bread to be a sandwich? It's a troubling issue, Jake. Leave it with me and I'll ponder it. Ponder it a while. Wembley. Hello, Linda.
Hello.
Linda.
Common sense. The government hasn't got any common sense.
No.
If they were negotiating Brexit, right, they should have thought, well, we're going to need certain people until we train our own lorry drivers, for example.
Yeah.
So they should have said, OK, as part of Brexit, workers that we need, we will give them a visa to come and work here.
Unfortunately, Linda, that's not what won Brexit. What won Brexit was promising people fewer foreigners.
I think people would have seen the common sense in that.
There was nothing. As you said, there's no common sense. There's nothing common about sense. The reason they won Brexit and the reason that the Conservative Party won the last general election was because they promised people fewer foreigners.
Well,
the end.
It was about controlling.
No, it wasn't. All that's nonsense. It's just buzzwords. Ask people who say that kind of thing what that means. More control, sovereignty. Okay. It doesn't mean anything at all. They're just words that they repeat ad infinitum, and it's utterly meaningless. The it of it is, we promise you fewer foreigners. They couldn't say, we promise you fewer foreigners, but for a while we're going to need a lot of foreigners, so maybe it'll be a little bit later on. No, that's a confusing message. Just tell them from day one, we will push foreigners back out to sea, vote for us, that's why they're in power.
Well, I would have seen the sense in it, and not only that, they're still messed up because they're offering these lorry drivers visas until Christmas, but I don't think it's going to be worthwhile just to come until Christmas.
Why would anybody come back to a country that has been yelling at them to go back to where you came from for the last 5 years to help us out, rather than stay where they are, earning good money under better conditions, laughing at us?
Do they earn better money there, though, where they are?
Where they are in Europe.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do know that they have better working conditions. They don't have to sleep in lay-bys and wash in a sink and eat a varied diet of crisps that they found in the garage shop all day long for breakfast, lunch and dinner. That I do know. Why would anybody come back and help us, a country that has been screaming at them that we don't want your sort here for the last 5 years? And the government, they either don't know that, they don't understand that, or they do understand it, and they're just trying to cover themselves for another day. Just try to get rid of those negative headlines for 24 hours. And I suspect that is actually what it is. News management.
Who do you think you're talking to?
0345 6060 973. I don't really want to talk about it much because it's just so blooming typical. But, I mean, am I right or am I right? The Labour Party, they just can't walk forwards for squabbling with each other. I mean, it's just so utterly predictable. And a huge open goal in front of them. They've been awarded a penalty, but instead of kicking the ball, they're punching each other over who gets to actually take the penalty. When the Tories have their conference, they'll all speak from the same hymn sheet. I betcha, betcha, betcha. It'll be all, everything's going absolutely marvellous under the dear leader. And he'll step up and waffle on about Hercules and Pericles and Zeus and Prometheus. And there'll be an orgy of giddy delight, and then they'll play their favourite tune, and they'll all look like a team. Meanwhile, Labour will have fought themselves to the ground, and the Tories will just step nimbly over them. Morons. We're surrounded by morons. Mike emails, write your question for Nick here. That's not the part I'm supposed to read, is it? Idiot. Fast-tracking HGV tests is okay, says Mike. Securing loads is another skill completely. Prepare for shed loads all over the place when the 7-day wonders hit the roads. Yeah, that's right. The government's wizard scheme to give us more drivers is to make the test easier to pass. What could possibly go wrong? God, it's just amazing. I mean, honestly, it's like living in a sitcom, isn't it? And now this. It's finally gotten through to the people who are leading this country that there's a small issue barrelling at us over the horizon that they're completely unprepared for. They obviously haven't looked forward in their diaries and seen that there's a little thing called Christmas on the way. Like everything else that's happening at the moment, it will take this government completely by surprise. What, Christmas? December? Nobody told us. Oh! The Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro says Boris Johnson asked him for an emergency deal to ease shortages of an unspecified food product.
Emergency?
He said. A lack of drivers and food pickers because of Brexit has led to fears that some goods will be missing from the shelves in the run-up to Christmas. So what could that unspecified Christmas-related, highly politically sensitive food product be? I mean, the absence of which food product that Brazil produces a lot of would make the biggest hole on the Christmas dinner table. Can you think? During his weekly live broadcast on social media on Thursday night, Brazil's crazy leader, Bolsonaro, said, one thing I talked to Boris Johnson about was that he wants an emergency deal with us to import some kind of produce of ours of which there are shortages in England. He said it just goes to show that everyone's struggling with inflation after this stay-at-home we'll deal with the economy later business, and some countries are facing food shortages. some countries. I think he means us. He said, I've passed this potato on to Mrs. Teresa Cristina, Brazil's agriculture minister. Is he calling Boris Johnson a potato? So it's a farming product that's integral to Christmas and would really turn the nation against Bodger were we to find the shelves bare of it. It really is a puzzle. What could it be? Bolsonaro said, when I started chatting to Boris Johnson, he, you know the potato? He talked about whiskey. He asked me, what could I do to make it easier to import whiskey to Brazil? Bolsonaro said, look, it's not one of my priorities, making it easy to bring whiskey into Brazil. This isn't something that the government should be working on. It's the market that regulates these things. And you'd think that the Tory party would be all about the market regulating things, but apparently the market seems somewhat broken. Which might be because we just extricated ourselves from the biggest free trade bloc on this side of the world. Or it might be a complete coincidence. And as you would expect, the government said that what Bolsonaro said did not happen. We don't need help, they said. And he didn't try to pitch for British whiskey. Gosh, who to believe? An authoritarian with a tentative grasp on reality and a history of lying? Or the president of Brazil? Number 10 is saying that Bolsonaro's claims do not tally with Downing Street's recollection of events. Hey, maybe Downing Street was drunk at the time. You're supposed to be selling the whiskey, Bodger, not drinking it. A dealer should never touch his own stash. Have you learnt nothing from Scarface? It's a coincidence that Brazil, by the way, is one of the biggest producers of turkey meat. Turkey meat. Bodger's so desperate to mitigate the effects of his Brexit that he promised would mean no checks on the border. There'd be no checks on the border, he said. He said there'd be less paperwork. He said there'd be cheaper goods, which turned out to mean more checks on the border, more paperwork and more expensive goods. Who could have predicted that apart from every single person not hypnotised by the prospect of fewer foreigners, that this would have happened? We have the Prime Minister of this country actually begging foreigners to come back to deliver the turkeys that he is begging the Brazilians to provide so that he doesn't turn out to be the Grinch that stole Christmas. On Jesus' birthday. 0345 6060 973. Portland, Oregon. Hello, Jake.
Hey, Nick. How's it going?
Good, thanks.
Great. So I just wanted to call in and talk to you about the latest Trump news I've been seeing pop up.
The latest Trump news?
Yes, indeed. So apparently Michael Cohen and Mary Trump and some other people from his inner circle that, have been removed.
Yeah.
And have said that this war chest and all of these donations are just going to go straight to him and he isn't going to run again. He's making too much money. Why would he run again?
Right. So he's got his fans sending money to, I don't know, to... Why has he said that they're sending money? For his rallies, right. For his rallies or to stop the steal or, we're going to win. We've got the Kraken. We're going to be announcing it any day soon. And Joe Biden will be out of office by the end of the week. Send money now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, he's secretly going to be inaugurated again if you just send $20 more.
Yeah, $20? Well, that sounds like excellent value for money.
I make $400 million a year, so what difference does it make?
Yeah, what difference does it make to Donnie? He's a billionaire. Sure he is. Hey, Jake, what's the weather like in Portland, Oregon? Because I heard that that area in particular is warming up more so than any other part of America.
Yeah, we have been having some crazy weather. It's not raining like it used to. It used to rain constantly, the 8 months of the year. And now it rains maybe for a month. And it hit 117 here a couple months ago.
Wow.
And a lot of people here don't have air conditioning or anything like that. So, people die.
Wow.
It was pretty serious.
So it's not a funny story then? No.
No.
Okay.
What is funny is... Boris acting like leaving the borders open or not having checks at them is going to work out somehow this time.
Yeah.
Because it worked out so well with the India variant, right?
Yeah, well, he's got a strategy just like Donald Trump's got a strategy.
There's no strategy. I have no strategy. There's zero strategy.
Thanks a lot, Jake. 0345 6060 973. This text says, Cordons, Petrol station cordons. We're surrounded by cordons. Mike says, fast-tracking HGV tests is okay. Oh, no, I read that. Shed loads. If you see a lorry carrying sheds and give it a wide berth, anything could happen. Jeremy says, don't listen to any nonsense from Boris Johnson's magic show normalising the current UK problems as a consequence of COVID. Everything here in France is exactly the same as normal. The supermarkets, petrol stations, are all running like a well-oiled machine. Bodger should be pressed to admit publicly that this is down to Brexit. It's his fault, and he's a naughty boy. Thank you, sir. May I have another? He'd say. Yeah. I wonder if I can dial up quickly that speech that he gave at the UN, because I read out part of it. I'd have to go into my Twitter feed and find the things that I tweeted. It might take me a bit, but there's a speech he gave at the UN, which it's so hang on. It's so alarmingly him. I mean, I can't. I don't really do Twitter on my phone. I don't really know my way around it very well. But I'll look it up in an advert. Don't you worry about that. This says, come work here longer, harder, and pay a lot more tax for less money. Make a Christmas miracle happen. See Bozo's feeding of the 5,000 Romanian truckers. It's a Christmas miracle. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
He's portraying a quite stupefying ignorance.
Right, so this is the speech. Now, I read this out last night. It's not the whole speech, but this is a bit of the speech that he gave to the UN. The small part where he wasn't banging on about the Muppets. He says, now, either he's showing us who he is deliberately, or he's completely unaware that he's actually talking about himself here. Or maybe he didn't actually write this and a scriptwriter is having fun with him. Maybe that's it. He said out loud to the UN, we still cling with parts of our minds to the infantile belief that the world was made for our gratification and pleasure. And we combine this narcissism with an assumption of our own immortality. It's totally him. We cling with parts of our minds to the infantile belief that the world was made for our own gratification. Yeah, like we'd installed a stripper post for our gratification. We believe that someone else will clear up the mess that we make. It is him. Because that is what someone else has always done. Oh, my God, it's totally you, Bodger. You're showing yourself to us. You're exposing yourself.
Disgusting.
He said, we trash our habitats again and again. Yeah, that'll be his previous relationships. With the inductive reasoning that we have got away with it so far, and therefore we will get away with it again. That you could not get a more succinct description of Boris Johnson than that. And he actually said that out loud. In front of an audience, rather than just, himself talking to a mirror. Robert tweets, breaking news, Gavin Williamson, appointed Minister in charge of HGV tests. That says Bob in Camberley. Yeah. Good job, Gavin. You're doing an excellent work. 0345 6060 973. Enfield. Hello, Daniel.
Oh, hello, Nick. Lovely to speak to you again.
Daniel.
So the Johnson's not in prison yet, no?
Not yet.
Where he belongs?
No.
Well, people are slacking it. They're too busy capped-offing, do you know what I mean? That's the
People
problem.
like him don't go to prison, they go to the House of Lords.
Well, of course, that's the thing. But so we're running out of petrol, we're running out of gas, we're running out of diesel, we're running out of food, the things we need to produce the food, and the people to deliver it.
Yeah.
I'm just glad we took back control, Nick, do you know what I mean? Because can you feel the control running through your veins?
I can feel the sovereignty all around me, like an invisible force shield.
I mean, how's this going to work? So up to Christmas Eve, people are allowed to come here, and then what? They're just going to be slung out the country.
Yeah, Christmas Eve. Yeah, we're gonna make them leave on Christmas Eve. Yeah, roll up, form an orderly queue for this excellent opportunity.
But this is a long-term problem of people's own making. This is going to take years to solve.
Yeah.
So once Christmas is done, what then?
They're going from day to day, trying to manage the news cycle. It's just a collection of headlines they're throwing out to distract us from this sort of slow puncture wound that we have we have visited upon ourselves. There won't be any dramatic gotcha moment when they'll say, aha, Brexit has failed us because of that. It'll just be this sort of drip of one mild disaster followed by another, while still blaming it on COVID or Ramona's not believing hard enough, or the EU being mean to us. And it'll never be about Brexit. It'll always be about something else. But it'll just be this country is like a party balloon that's got a slow puncture.
Mm. But it's not even funny, because people are going to suffer. The country's going to suffer. I mean, we talk about the money on the side of a bus. What about how much this country's lost since leaving the EU? It's hundreds of millions each week we've lost.
Daniel,
we're never going to get that back.
Don't forget about the levelling up.
Yeah, the levelling up of him and his mates' bank balances. Boris.
I think the thing to remember is that none of this will affect them negatively at all. They'll be just fine.
How comes we can see how corrupt this is and the rest of a lot of these people can't? How is that? What's happened to these people?
I think, well, the significant majority... yes, it is a form of brainwashing, because they promised people what they couldn't deliver, but to admit that you went along with it would be to admit that you've been had. It would also be to give up hope, because they have told these people, if you do this, vote for Brexit, vote for me, then your life will be better. We guarantee it. And so people are all in, and they thought, that's right. The reason that I have not achieved my potential, the reason I don't have a life like those people in the magazines and on Instagram, is because of insert identifiable minority here. The foreign lorry drivers, or the foreign fruit pickers, or the foreign carers, or the foreign whoever it might be. Foreigners in general, people in dinghies. And now we're a nation that's dinghy spotting, as though that's the problem.
The trick is to get the masses to punch down, never to punch up. That's the trick, isn't it?
Exactly right. We're all on a ladder, and we have been trained to think that it's the people below us who are dragging us 100%. Down, rather than the people above us who are pushing us down.
But I believe it's a form of cognitive dissonance. Just before I have to go, I think it's a form of cognitive dissonance with a lot of these people, because their heart was so set on this thing that was sold to them that was completely a lie, and we knew that at the time, but people believed it, and their heart can't take it, but their head kind of is solving it in their head, their mind. They're solving this, that they've been played, and that's why they're angry. You say, why are they angry, these people? Because they know they've been, but they just can't accept it, because their heart was so set on this myth, or this
right. A better future. That's what they were promised. Yeah, and
it was never achievable.
Cognitive dissonance, or All right. Thanks a lot, Daniel. 0345 6060 973. It is interesting how angry the people who voted for Brexit are. I mean, furiously lashing out. You look on Twitter, and they're just absolutely... Well, the F word, fury, does apply to them. I mean, they just seem to be apoplectic, mostly with people pointing out that they told them about this over and over and over again. I told you so. Remoaners. They're still wailing on about Remoaners, as though we're the problem. If only we believed, then everything would be okay. It's our fault for not believing enough. Like we're all living in Peter Pan. If you believe, you can fly. Bruce in Deutschland said, you are right when you say that the world is laughing at Britain. The problem is that Britain still has a class system. How can you have a Bullingdon Boris as your PM and a European-centred royal family? Are they centred? I mean, I know their history is European and German and whatever. But are they European-centred? I don't know. I don't think they've really got anything to do with it. They're running a business quite aggressively, and they're getting on with their own thing. It doesn't really matter who the PM is. They're like a little bubble all unto themselves, floating along with a wave. A wave and a smile. That's all we expect, Your Majesty. God bless you, Your Majesty. Oh God, not this song again, please. I can't stand it. 0345 6060 973. Brighton. Hello, Ian.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
I just wanted to talk about how much we've lost in terms of camaraderie with our European neighbours. I've got many friends that I've had, luckily, growing up in my 20s that I made because of free movement, and lots of people came here that formed bands and made vintage shops and employed other people. My friend has a wife from Lithuania, now with 2 children, and it's just really sad that a lot of people will not get to experience this anymore. I think that we've completely lost all idea of what this country is and what it should be about.
Ian, how old are you?
I'm 38 now.
38 years old. Well, I expected you were going to say you're somewhat younger than that, but 38 is pretty young, and it's not your age group that's done this to us, and it's certainly not the younger age group that's done this to us. It's not even people who are 10 years older that have done this to you. It's people who are 55 plus who have visited these problems upon us, because they are the ones who voted for Brexit. In fact, it's older than that. If you take pensioners out of the last of the Brexit vote and the Conservative win in the last general election, if you take pensioners out, people who have stopped working, the economically inactive, then if you take them out of the votes, then we would not be out of the European Union. Brexit would have lost, and Labour would be running the country.
And obviously there would be complete chaos. I'm saying that in jest, because everything that has happened since the Tories came into power, the last 11 years has just been a steady decline. And I just feel really sorry for the country that this has happened.
Well, cheer up, Ian. It might never oh, no, that's right. It already has. All right, thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. That's actually true. Excuse me. If you take pensioners out of the Brexit vote, we would not have left the European Union. And if you take the pensioner vote out of the last general election, then the Conservative Party would have been consigned to the dustbin of history, and Bodger would not be our Prime Minister. And wouldn't that be great? It would be Jezza Corbyn. And who knows what might happen, but it certainly wouldn't be as bad as this. It couldn't possibly be. I mean, let's assume that Jezza Corbyn doesn't know anybody with a bank account big enough to shovel billions of pounds of taxpayers' money into it, with a nod and a wink. No questions asked. Let's assume that he wouldn't have done that. But, thanks a lot, pensioners.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. And the reason, kids, that this has been visited upon you by your granny and granddad is because you don't vote. Don't tell me that you do, because you don't. The incidence of voting, I think, off the top of my head now, it's something like 47% of the under 50s will definitely go and vote come a general election. 47%, which is a number also known as pathetic. 47%, less than half. If you ask the over 65s how many of them will vote, and it's something of the order of 67 to 70%. Almost all of them. Almost all of them that can crawl out of the front door and 100 yards down to the voting booth, they will vote. So that's why we're in this mess. Kids don't vote. And you should all be punished. See me later. 0345 6060 973, text 84850. And, you know, the excuses that they go, oh, you know, I don't want to, it's so boring. They're all the same. You know, these pathetic excuses that they give for not taking part. And just how long does it take to go and vote? It's not like America. You don't have to queue for 12 hours in the boiling sunshine or drive 100 miles to get there. There's 100 yards down the road. It's at the school, for crying out loud. And they still can't be bothered to go. And then they spend their entire life moaning about the situation that befalls them because they didn't vote. Oh, well, never mind. It's only life. 0345 6060 973. It's 11:30. The news headlines with Zora Solomon.
Right, so what are we doing?
Given we're doing a radio show, it does remind me, however, that I do a podcast with Carol McGiffin called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol, in which Carol McGiffin and I try to solve people's problems while not laughing too much. If you want us to have a bash at your issue, send it to the following address, nickandcarol@global.com. That's NICKANDCAROL @global.com, and prepare for total satisfaction. You can find it on an internet near you. Ask for it by name. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? I think you'll be delighted. It's on Global Player. That's the thing that we stick all of our radio stations on, and they've got a boatload of podcasts on there as well. If you haven't got one yet, if you haven't got a version of the Global Player app, then you should definitely go and investigate it straight away, if not sooner. You'll love it. That podcast name again, What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol? It's a delight, isn't it, Carol?
No.
Gary texts, I'm 70 and I hate Brexit. We're not all brain-dead morons, says Gary. Yeah, a lot of people calling in and saying, I'm a pensioner. It weren't me. I ain't done nothing. You get a pass. But the kids don't get a pass because the kids don't vote. They get punished. Colchester. Hello, John.
Good evening, Nick. Just this fake fuel crisis, in my opinion, it doesn't seem to add up very much. 3 days ago, there was no petrol crisis, was there?
No.
Everyone was happy.
Happy. Happiness was all about. Yeah, I can remember 3 days ago. Oh, it's like it was only the day before yesterday.
Right, BP announced 4 stations closed.
Yes.
Assume that each station had its own tanker driver, which obviously it doesn't. A tanker driver will serve more than one. But just assume each one had its own. BP are short of 4 drivers, and there are hundreds of drivers. That don't ring true. But what would happen if a major company had a surfeit of petrol and they wanted to get rid of it sharpish? Start it? No. How about creating a false supply and get Boris Johnson to say, don't panic, Mr. Mannering, don't panic. And what happens?
Everybody
all
panics.
The sheep panic, and all the petrol ends up in the cars.
Right. Well, you certainly have got something there, John. Keep your eyes on the wheel and your hands... How does it go? Keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the something, and keep your eyes on the road ahead. We're in the back seat singing and hugging with Ted.
Disgusting.
What, all of them? Isn't that awful? Okay, excellent work there, John. So it's a ruse. This is the news. It's a ruse. There was a bloke in front of me who paying last night when I was filling up the car with petrol who said pretty much the exact same thing. He said, all these morons are queuing up here. He spoke like this. You don't know that he didn't. He said, all of these morons queuing up here because BP closed a couple of garages to concentrate on the motorways, which is apparently what happened. And if it didn't happen like this, then I apologise. I'm very sorry for suggesting otherwise.
I am very sorry that I screwed up.
Totally screwed up. I am so sorry that I screwed up. Yeah, they closed a couple of stations because they were running low on drivers, as far as I'm aware, in order to concentrate on the very, very vital and highly lucrative motorway network. The motorway service stations, where I think petrol is now £1,000 a litre. Something like that. And, You can get a mortgage if you want to use one of their tyre inflating machines. You want to squirt some oxygen in your tyre? That'll cost you millions of pounds if you're on the motorway. But then the word went round that, oh my God, BP have closed a couple of stations. So we better get some petrol. We'll write it down on our to-do list. And then, of course, Bodger Ho's interview, and he says, "Don't panic!" And then the rest is history. Don't panic, I'll save you. Oh, we are doomed. Gary in Devon says, "I've just arrived back from home from enjoying a great big dose of my Brexit freedom. With great sovereign pride, I visited both of my town's local petrol stations, and unlike yesterday, I managed to get some fuel. For the first time in the last 4 weeks, I also managed to get some of that rare and exotic cheese they call mature cheddar. I'm just loving having all of this control that we've taken back," says Gary. Well, that control does sound absolutely delicious. This tweet from The Parrot says, "We got no chance of foreign lorry drivers coming over again, as most of last year they spent Christmas Day at Dover Port stuck in their cabs, if you remember rightly." That's right. Yes, they did. Yeah. You know, Boris Johnson can wave his magic wand. Put it away, Bodge. Nobody wants to see that.
Disgusting.
He can wave his magic wand about and say, "I now create 5,000 visas for lorry drivers to come over. This is my Christmas gift to you." Yeah, well, they've got to want to come over. See, that's the problem. And if, as a country, we've been yelling at them for 5 years to go back to where they came from, we don't want your sort here. Do you think that they'll be queuing in order to come and save us from the mess that we've created for ourselves? I think not. Let's have Notting Hill, Sharif.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
You know, it amazes me. You know, first of all, I would like to reiterate your comment. He's not Boris. He's Alexander de Pfeffel Johnson.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, let's put it in perspective of what he is. He's not some like Labrador.
No, he's not your friend. He's not cute. And he's not doing... Well, he may actually be doing his best. If he is, then we're in worse trouble than I thought.
I know. It's scaring the life out of me. And in terms of also, you know, we're talking about the Labour Party earlier on. Well, I don't understand why they form a circular bloody firing squad
so predictable.
On each other.
I mean, day one of the conference, and they were already fighting each other to the ground like a bunch of kids in the playground.
I wish they'd just get their act together. For Christ's sake, we actually need a decent opposition to counteract this.
They can't do it. And the right-wing press are absolutely giddy with delight. They don't need journalists to make this stuff up. They just write down what they say and what actually happens. They're exactly as you say. I mean, I've said it so many times, and I'm proven right over and over again.
You're bang on.
People from the left call up. People from the left, they call up and say, "Oh, well, you're not helping, and why are you picking on us?" And no such thing happens, and we're all speaking from the same script. No, they're not. They're fighting each other over purity, and I think more concerned thoughts than you do. And oh God, it's just so utterly predictable.
It's so predictable. It's actually It's actually to the point where it makes me morose. It makes me feel depressed because they don't. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. Is that the best we can do?
Yeah, apparently so. Yeah.
Oh, it's terrifying.
But you're right about the Boris thing, and it annoys me every time that somebody says it, because people in the news say this. Oh, Boris today did. Like, think back. Is there any other MP? I mean, would we have said of Theresa May, Teresa? But would a news item start with Teresa said today? No, of course not.
Even Winston Churchill, it wouldn't occur that way.
No.
But he's got this kind of fluffy, kind of
He's got his act. That's the thing. His entire life, his act, as with his hairstyle, has remained the same. The same as he was.
It's washing thin, Nick. It's washing.
Well,
we're starting to see what he is.
Yes, it's the only thing he's got, though, Sharif. So he can't switch. He can't change. Getting his hair cut and wearing it a little bit smarter isn't going to make any difference because.
And you read that piece of when he was speaking to the UN. Speaking, and it was like that sums him up.
It's a confession. It wasn't a speech about the environment to the UN. It was a confession
of what he is.
Yeah.
Oh my God! And he's doing his best.
Sure he is. If he is, like I said, then we're all in big, big trouble. If that's him doing his best, then we are doomed. Thanks a lot, Sharif. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, think of any other Prime Minister. And none in history gets the first name treatment like they're your friend. People are seduced by this chap, and it just absolutely boggles my mind. How? Why? And the only reason I can come up with is because he does that little lost child act. That's the thing with his hair. That's why it's all ski-whiff all the time, because he wants... It's always worked because adults see him, women in particular, apparently, and they want to smooth his hair down, and they want to straighten his tie and fix his collar and mummy him. Like he's a pet. Boris. Oh, isn't he lovely? God, it's excruciating. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Excruciating, isn't it, Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
You've got a good... your mind is a little bit... You know what I mean? Three-dimensional.
No, I do not know what you mean. Enfield, hello, ruler.
Oh, hello, Nick. How are you?
I'm great, mate.
Have you filled up your petrol tank?
Yes, I have. At 3 o'clock in the morning.
Lucky you. Maybe I should set off at midnight and see if I can find anything.
No, midnight, the queues were from here to Australia and back. At 1 o'clock in the morning, it was madness. At 2 o'clock, you couldn't get anywhere near a petrol station. 3 a.m. it took me to find somewhere that had less than 20 cars queuing outside.
And you know what's the bad thing? You're wasting your petrol trying to find petrol.
Correct. That's not saving the planet.
No, not at all. Okay, so what I wanted to say to you is that why would the Europeans come over here to work when we haven't, we didn't want them and we did our best to get rid of them? But then again, on the other hand, they could take advantage and say, well, you know what, if you pay us double, then we'll come over and make the most of it.
Yeah.
But I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either. Why would they? I mean, as a country, we've been yelling at them that we don't want them here. Your sort can go home back to where you came from. We've been screaming at them for 5 years. Exactly. And now when we're in trouble, we want them to come and save us.
Yeah, it's like, but please come over. We need you now. Yeah. And when we don't need you, we can chuck you out again.
It's not even please come over. It's we will permit you to come over. That sort of superior, airy wave of the hand that Bodger's got and his cast of Muppets.
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
Yeah. We are. Yes, we are British. God damn it.
Exactly.
Yeah. By the way, Nick, I hear you went to the Isle of Wight.
When?
Well, I don't know. Did you go?
Yes, I've been there. Yeah, not this year and not last year.
All right. Did you like it?
Well, they have a house, like a royal house. I can't remember the name of it. What's the name of that big royal house where the Queen or some Queen used to stay? It's got a lawn that goes all the way down to the water. And that's really, really nice. And the boat going over, that's good too. I like that.
All right, because I've just come back from there.
Oh, yeah, and?
And, I liked it. I think it was a really lovely island. Very clean, lovely, nice beaches.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
a bit.
really
It's a
nice.
bit like stepping back in time, isn't
And
it?
yes,
A little bit,
and
yeah.
peaceful. It's a peaceful island. It's not very, not a lot of tourists there. It's
Yeah,
nice.
and almost completely uninfested with buses, which is a mistake that I made because I went on foot and walked up from the ferry up to where you catch the bus. And it's not like it is on the mainland. A bus does not come along every 10 minutes. No, it's like once in at 3 o'clock every other Wednesday, something like that.
Oh, no. I know.
Yeah.
Well, we took a car. We took our car with us.
I can only dream of being able to take a car.
And we filled up before any of this panic. So we were fine.
That's
But
not-
no. Yeah, I think you need a car on that island.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for the news, Ruler.
Thank you.
Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. Stephen in Saltaire says, petrol shortages, labour shortages, gas shortages, lorry driver shortages, food shortages. Will Johnson's next magnificent achievement be a shortage of shortages? And Ross in Croydon says, good evening, Nick and LBC team. I'm an ex-HGV driver and I still hold my licence, but due to poor pay and long hours, I left 6 years ago. Now I'm a bus driver and I wonder why the government hasn't approached TfL. I know in my garage there are 100 HGV licence holders and are eager to help at least a day a week. It's an easy fix. Get those bus drivers to drive lorries for a day a week. It'll help a lot. There are over 8,000 bus drivers in London. At least 20% of them have HGV licences. I'm sure people won't mind waiting an extra 10 minutes for a bus because that driver is driving a lorry that day. Thank you, says Ross. No, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Well, maybe, I don't know. I mean, are they transferable skills? It's a large vehicle, a bus, right enough, but you don't have that, the connecting with the thing on the back and, all of that stuff. I don't know. What are you asking me for? Let's have Oxford. Leslie.
Hello.
Leslie.
I'm loving your conversation. You brighten up my day whenever I hear you on air.
Oh, thanks.
I'd like to approach it from a slightly different angle, which hasn't kind of been mentioned yet, but I'd like to float this amongst your listeners.
Mm-hmm.
What about emigration? That hasn't really been discussed. Like, why hasn't it been addressed that people go abroad to work, sort of thing? Because there are no jobs here for people, so they go abroad and look for jobs abroad.
Well, yes, we are economic migrants. Yes, leave here to go somewhere else in order to earn money, perhaps.
So, and until we tackle emigration, it needs to go hand in hand with immigration.
No, not really, because people don't see that. They don't see people from here leaving. They do notice people from over there coming here.
Right.
Are you saying that we shouldn't allow people to leave the country to go and work somewhere else?
I'm saying we need to address that. I'm saying we need to address why people emigrate abroad.
Well, and no end of reasons.
Why do people emigrate to find better jobs? Because they can't find the blooming jobs over here.
Right. Well, it could be any number of reasons. I suspect that many people leave because of the weather. They go to places where the weather is more reliably warm.
I'm sure there are many factors. In some cases, it might be because there are not the right sort of skilled jobs here for people to do over here.
Yeah.
And they get
also
better...
they want a new environment. They want a new challenge. They want a new start. They want a new life. I mean, the whole world is your oyster. Unless you're planning to go to Europe, in which case it is now forbidden. Sorry about that, but we have insisted that Europe is now off the menu.
I don't keep brightening up my day. You brighten up no end.
Well, I appreciate it, Leslie. Thank you. Cheers, my dear. Ta-ra. 0345 6060 973. Simon says, Nick, dehydrated water would be a good space saver and also cut down on delivery costs for the bottled versions. Well, that's excellent thinking, Simon. It's incredible that nobody's thought of that before. Dehydrated water. Problem solved. Edward tweets, Nick, if we run out of petrol, the only way forward is a horse and carriage, providing there isn't a shortage of workers to harvest the hay to feed the horses. Always a problem. I'll see if I can squeeze another one in before the news. Ipswich. Hello, Eugene.
Hello, Nick.
Eugene.
Yes.
Yes, Eugene.
Oh, I can hear you now. I'm a lorry driver, Nick.
Oh, yes.
And my problem with the lorry drivers that UK have now, it's not that the lorry drivers doesn't exist. They exist. They are here in this country as well. You have English UK drivers as well.
Yeah.
But they don't want to work as a lorry driver.
Why?
Because of the long hours.
Right. How long are the hours?
Around 72 hours per week.
Blimey.
So if you work just like me, I don't have too many years in this country. I have only 5 years or something like that. Almost 5 years.
Yeah.
But from 3 years, I'm driving a lorry, yeah? My schedule, every day, it's go to work, come back at home, have a quick nap. So I will have a 7-hour nap, wake up, drink my coffee with my family, see them for another half an hour, and go back to work. That is 6 days per week, when I'm allowed to work 6 days.
6 days a week? 6, did you say?
Yes, a lorry driver can work 1 week 5 days, 1 week 6 days.
So you barely see your family at all?
Of course, I stay much more time in the lorry instead of staying home with my wife and kids.
Yeah. Well, can I ask you this? I mean, you say you got wife and kids, so maybe this is the answer to the question. But why did you choose to stay here?
I don't say that. I'm from Romania. I don't say Romania is a bad country, but they have a very bad politics.
Right.
And because, in my opinion, because East countries, they must work for West countries. So instead of working there for you, I prefer to come here and work for you.
Right. Okay, well...
Because of the politics and whatever is in the East Europe, if everybody were just like you, where is the contest? Where is the concurrence? Where is the... Somebody must do it.
Right. I think I understand what you're saying. Well, I appreciate it, Eugene. Thank you for the call. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC.
And I can't stand him.
0345 6060 973. So, about the European lorry drivers, Bodger has airily dismissed all complaints and has announced that we will now allow 5,000 foreign drivers to come over here and save Jesus' birthday. And, of course, they will be queuing around the block to come and save us because we're British, damn it. But European lorry drivers are likely to shun the UK despite the relaxation of visa rules for truckers as Bodger scrambles to ease the fuel crisis that has led to panic buying at forecourts across the nation, the EU's leading haulage association has said. But what does the EU's leading haulage association know about EU haulage? Don't panic, says Bodger. And everybody freaked out. The PM green-lit visas to 5,000 EU drivers. The head of the European Road Hauliers Association said that drivers on the continent are likely to ignore the UK in favour of higher pay and better working conditions across Europe, which I think is pretty unpatriotic of foreign drivers. Why don't they love our country? If they don't love our country, why don't they go back to where they came from? Oh, wait, no. Cancel that. Forget I said anything. Marco Di Gioia Digi Marco said, he's the General Secretary of the UETR, which represents more than 70% of trucking companies across the European Union. He said, I expect many drivers will not return to the UK, even if the UK government allows them to. He said, while offering visas to drivers on the continent would be a welcome step, there are many other issues such as working conditions, pay, and the cost of getting into and working in the UK. He said it's not surprising that the UK is suffering driver shortages. There are two reasons, he said. The number one reason is Brexit, and the number two is COVID. He said there are driver shortages right across Europe as well, which makes you wonder, and I know this has been pointed out on this show already, but Bodger has assumed that just by allowing foreign drivers to come here, 5,000 of them, for a strictly limited period while we need them, and then we can scream at them to go back to where they came from again, on Christmas Eve, that's when the visa runs out. Christmas Eve. We'll squeeze you like a sponge, get everything we want out of you, and then we'll chuck you out of the country on Christmas Eve. You're welcome. Why wouldn't anybody want that? Why wouldn't foreigners be queuing around the block for that opportunity to get abused by the people that have been screaming at them to go back to where they came from for 5 years? It's just a mystery. There are driver shortages right across Europe. See, that's the problem, is where are we going to get the drivers from? Because Europe's already got driver shortages. Not as bad as we have, mind. Not remotely as bad as we have, but they do have shortages. The EU, as opposed to this country, has committed to improving driver facilities, and haulage companies are committed to improving pay and conditions in Europe. He said, this is the General Secretary of the organisation which represents more than 70% of trucking companies in the European Union. You know, so he sounds like an expert to me. He said, until the UK offers the same pay and working conditions as drivers have in the European Union, then many will stay away. But where in Europe can an HGV driver wash in a broken sink and sleep in a lay-by and feast on a selection of garage-bought crisps all day? I mean, they don't offer that, do they? Brussels has committed to a financial package to building new truck parking areas with improved facilities across the EU, and they already have better facilities than we provide here. The facilities that we provide here include nothing. Our best offer is that we promise not to yell "go home" for a limited period if only those drivers will come back to help us before their time-limited visa runs out. It's the best offer we can make. The UK's leading trucking group, the Road Haulage Association, estimates that there are 100,000 HGV vacancies, and they blame the shortfall on a post-Brexit exodus of European drivers. But, these are only experts in possession of facts, so nobody is remotely interested in anything they have to say. And so the government's running around like headless chickens, denying that there's a problem and trying to fix something that's already unravelling. They wait till it's too late, and then they rush to try to convince us that they're on top of it. And it's as though they've just been made aware that there's a thing called Christmas coming at us. And the people that provide everything that goes with Christmas have been saying that there's a problem for ages. And, as usual, the government just ignores them till it's too late to do anything about it, and then runs around trying to find somebody else to blame it on. And their answer, or rather the government's way to take the heat off for a day in the hope that some other story comes along to distract us, is to make it easier to get an HGV licence. Because, what could possibly go wrong? The government has streamlined the process for people to gain an HGV licence. But the Road Haulage Association apparently are not reading their lines right, because they said it takes 3 or 4 months to get a driver applying to learn today to be in work in the sector. Even after gaining their licence, there's a month to 6 weeks of training on the job, and if you begin the process today, then it's unlikely you'll be driving solo until the new year. The problem is we need solutions now. Solutions now, Bodger. What have you got?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
He's got nothing. I mean, he could prattle on about Greek gods and fairy tales, if that helps. 0345 6060 973. Ipswich, Eugene.
Yes, Nick.
Yes.
I'm still here.
Oh, it's you. You're still there. Well, I appreciate you being there, Eugene, but we've chit-chatted away already. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Let's have... who's been waiting the longest? Be totally fair about this. Cambridge, Argon.
Hey, Nick.
How you doing?
First-time caller, long-time listener.
Excellent.
It's actually Arjun, but don't worry.
Arjun.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Hold your head up.
Yeah, exactly. First of all, I wanted to say, you were talking about young voters, people not voting. But I'm a young person, and I literally vote at every single election.
Guilty!
I know. Yeah, whether it's general elections, local elections, I'll be there.
Right. Now,
I think,
what about your friends? Because you must talk about this sort of stuff, and I bet your friends don't.
Yeah, exactly. Half of them do, half probably don't.
Right.
Yeah. I think I know one guy who says he doesn't vote because it gets in the way of his football matches.
Oh, for crying out loud. You've got to be kidding
I know.
me. How long does a football match last? All day long? They're open from 7 in the morning till 10 at night.
Well, yeah, exactly. But he says, I have to work and then I've got the football match on. I get straight back from work. I say to him, so why don't you go to the polling station, like, at half-time? It'd take you 5 minutes to get there, less than 5 minutes to vote, and 5 minutes back.
Correct.
So you'll be back for the second half. But,
right. And other excuses are, I bet, they're all the same.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. You've got to talk them into it, Arjun. You've got to beat some sense into them, physically if necessary.
Well, I try, Nick, but I find it hard. I mean, how is it? How can I do it when people are still backing the government at a time like this? I just don't get it, Nick. I mean, like we've got.
Don't give up, Arjun.
I know. I try not to, Nick. But honestly, food shortages, fuel shortages, soaring gas prices. Yeah. I mean, I really think, I was saying this to someone else before, I was saying, I think we're heading to a kind of new winter of discontent, if this all keeps up.
Well, listen, mate, you don't know anything about it because you're not old enough to have got through it. I was there. I lived through it, and I can tell you that this is nothing like 1974, not even remotely close. We ain't got Pan's people on the TV for a start. You have no idea what I'm talking about. Never mind. Look it up on the internet. All right. Thanks a lot, Arjun. Like I said, hold your head up, Arjun. Dum, 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 boom, boom. Everybody sing. Shh, da, 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 da. We should play that right now. We got the best of Arjun? No? What kind of a radio station is this? Shrey in Harrow says, was listening to your show while driving from Barnet to Harrow, and the queue on the A406 was terrible. People should be ashamed at their panic-buying actions. Thanks for being the soundtrack to my maiden drive on the North Circular, says Shrey. Dick in Hastings says, I wonder if our current situation is part of a Conservative master plan to reduce our carbon emissions. We're running out of gas, we've run out of petrol, and the shops are empty or closed down, so there's nothing to consume. It's brilliant. And perhaps our poverty will be such that we will attract incoming overseas aid, which might help our balance of payments. Yeah, you forgot the part about with much less to eat, we're going to lose an enormous amount of weight. Think of that. Good plan, Bodge. It's working excellently well. Let's have a call in Vancouver, Canada.
I'd much rather listen to God Gave Rock and Roll to you.
Oh, well, that is a good one. Yeah, cancel, hold your head up. We're going to play God Gave Rock and Roll to You.
You were talking with a young lady earlier on, talking about why would people emigrate. And I emigrated to Canada in 1985, and the reason was really simple. My mum's working class. My dad was upper middle class, black sheep of the family, which is why he married a working class girl to really annoy his doctor father.
Right.
And I was
Did love have anything to do with it, by the way, or was he just being mean to his parents? Just any passing girl would do. Right, okay.
Yes, as long as she was from the wrong part of the village, because that was where they were from. I always accepted that my accent wouldn't get me anywhere in Britain. Because my dad's did, and I saw that my dad's accent got in places. He got a bank loan even though he was hopeless with money. And my mother never got any credit, even though she was really bright, because she sounded working class, as I did.
Right.
And when I came to Canada, I came to a country where no one cared what your accent sounded like or what school you went to. It literally just, the only thing that counts here is, are you bright? Will you work hard? You've got a good idea. And that's it. You're on your way then. You can make as much or as little money as you want. And I can't imagine why anyone who isn't part of the sort of elite 6% UK would want to stay in Britain. You've basically got a glass ceiling above you. There's nothing you can do about it. If you don't sound right, you ain't going up that greasy pole.
Yeah, but where else can we go, Nick? We've closed off the borders. We can't leave. We've closed the borders for people coming here, but forgotten the part about we can't leave.
Well, in my opinion of Brexit, similar to yours. I think it's... Well, here was my opinion of Brexit. It'll be a disaster. I actually didn't predict it would be this much of a disaster. I didn't think when I opened up the front page of The Guardian it would look like a report from Budapest or Warsaw in 1965,
right?
Which is what the press in Britain reminds me of. They're like life in Eastern Europe before the communists fell.
I've got detailed files from European newspapers who are looking at what's going on over here and just shaking their heads in wonderment and sort of trying not to laugh out loud. So I might give you some flavour of what Europeans think of what's going on here in a bit. But
it's the same here in Canada.
Right.
Everybody in Canada is going, if you wanted a deal from the Americans on trade, why wouldn't you demand that first before you signed the deal around submarines that you're not even building that will annoy the EU and China, the only two other trade blocs in the world? It's like, how stupid are the British?
Well,
this is how they operate.
The way they operate, the way this government in particular operates is, look at us, feast your eyes upon our magnificence and give us everything we want. Otherwise, we will accuse you of being unpatriotic. and other than that, they ain't got nothing. It's such a paper-thin act that it's just remarkable that it's worked so well for his entire life.
I mean, the Australian thing just is astoundingly inept. I mean, if you want a deal from the Americans and they want you to sign on to their military deal, you say, OK, we'll sign on if you sign this trade deal. And you don't sign on until you've signed the trade deal. Because you know that the submarine thing, which is going to provide, 100 jobs in the UK, is going to make getting a trade deal with the EU significantly more difficult.
Up to, not 100, up to 100, which clearly includes the number 0, which rather implies that we have no idea what we're going to get out of this deal, other than we're allowed to trail along behind America like a lapdog. It's just that's our new position in life. On our knees in front of whoever happens to come along because we're desperate for a trade deal. Any kind of deal, anything will do. Yeah, Nick, I've got to go, but thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
You're wondering what it's all about, and I can't tell you because I don't know myself.
But this chap can. A chap in Hounslow called Phil. Hello, Phil.
How are we?
We are great, mate.
Good. It's a fire sale literally here in West London. So Britain Running Dry, if you remember that all those years ago. Remake, the sequel.
Right. Well, they're selling fire?
Well, if you set a light to it, it's fire, yeah.
I guess so, yeah.
But no, it's this disaster.
So
and,
where are you?
Gillette Corner.
Right, so you're not in Hounslow, you're in Gillette Corner, and you're in a car?
In a van, actually.
In a van. Look down at the fuel gauge, and what does it say?
No go.
No-go. So
Fumes only.
one side is go and one side is no-go. It's marking out no-go at the moment. No-go. Oh, no, no-go.
It wraps itself around the end of the pin stop, you know?
It's got so little fuel in, it's bending against the end. Right. So what are you going to do about it?
Well, all the electric cars are smiling, driving past, of course, you know, giving the thumbs up.
Right.
But, I'm getting ready to camp out for the night, I think, because it's a disaster. And there's people fighting. The police have been about 4 times already. So it's... Are
you actually in a queue?
Yeah.
And how many people are ahead of you? How many cars?
Well, I'm literally about the third one to the next pump, so I've done pretty well. But the A4 is a mile queue easily.
Wow.
So it's the world's largest car park, now open in West London.
Well, I hope it doesn't run out before you get there.
No, I checked. I did my homework, and I collared somebody, and apparently there's 36,000 litres, but I haven't done the maths on that yet.
Right.
If an average car fills up 60 litres, I'll have to come back to you on that.
Yeah, there'll be a bloke in front of you with 36,000 cans that he's going to fill up just before you get there. Yeah. Or if it's anything like the garage that I went to last night, there's petrol, literally, like, not literally, but it's about ankle deep in petrol, just because people who are unfamiliar with filling up petrol cans, they don't know when to stop, and so they overfill, and it just goes all over everywhere.
Usual story. Usual story.
Morons, Phil. We're surrounded by morons. Well, I wish
swimming in them.
Exactly. I wish you all the best, and good luck at the pumps. How much is...
We'll be pumping like mad.
Right. How much is it per litre?
Well, it's 39.9, 139.9. But
139. What? £1.40? What? Oh my God.
Telephone numbers it'll be before I get there, I'm sure.
Exactly. Okay, well, make sure your credit is all in order. Thanks a lot, Phil. It's the view from the pumps. Simon tweets, surely all the people whose jobs were stolen by immigrants started their HGV training in summer. Yeah, that's right. They came over here and they took our jobs, and so as soon as they left, all of the people whose jobs had been taken by these foreigners, they started work straight away, right? Wrong. It's almost as though none of that was actually true. Mike texts, emergency vehicles and NHS staff unable to refuel. At least Trump said he had no strategy. What's Boris Johnson's excuse? Trump never said I've got no strategy.
There's no strategy. I have no strategy. There's zero strategy.
0345 6060 973. He's got zero strategy, Bodger.
I think he's betraying a quite stupefying ignorance.
Chris in Stubbington texts, hi Nick, it's Osborne House, and Queen Victoria used to stay, and I'm not sure why the Royals no longer use it. Well, the Royals no longer use it, probably because they've got so many castles, palaces, manors, houses, cottages, estates, etc. and so on, that they've forgotten it's there. Didn't Queen Victoria die there? Maybe that's why they no longer use it. I'm pretty sure somebody important died there. It's a good place, though. It's well worth going. They've got a lovely garden at the front where the lawn goes all the way down to the sea. The view is lovely. I think you'll enjoy it. If you mention my name at the ticket booth, they will give you a ticket at the regular price. 0345 6060 973. I do want to tell you what European newspapers have, what their opinion is of what's happening here. It's educational, and we do like to be educated. I know I'd do. Let's have Fareham. Leslie.
Hi, Nick.
Leslie.
Well, I blame the road haulage managers, not Boris.
Ah.
Yeah. It should have been them that sorting this out. It was them who took on the Europeans at a poor wage, and that's why our people wouldn't work for them because the money was too low. And now they've lost them. So you can blame them. And also, they never put any facilities in for the drivers.
Yeah.
So you can blame them again.
Well, that's a government thing, though, really, isn't it? I mean,
No.
it is. Putting facilities on roadsides and constructing buildings where they can go and wash
where
and
the
so on.
road haulage managers should have been asking for it.
Well,
So they are to blame.
No, they're not. They're not to blame. Of course, they're not to blame. It's a government issue. The European governments provide for their most valuable assets, and being as everything in your house has come by lorry, then it would be the drivers who are those assets. And I've heard time and time and time again from lorry drivers that the quality of life in Europe is much, much better than it is here because of the facilities. I mean, think if you were sitting in a cab for what did that bloke say? Some 70 hours a week, something like that. You'd want somewhere decent to go and, have a shower, somewhere to rest up, somewhere to have a good meal. We ain't got that here because the government haven't provided it, Leslie.
And it should have been the road haulagers and the unions asking for that to be put in.
Why should they have to ask for something that's already available in Europe?
Because they wouldn't get it unless they asked for it.
Well, what kind of a government is that refuses to help? They refuse to help ourselves until they're forced into doing
We
it.
have got to help ourselves, but we don't help ourselves. The road haulage managers don't help their drivers. They pay them as much as they can get away with, or as less as they can get away with.
That's not road
which
haulage.
is
That's
wrong.
not the road haulage people. That's everywhere. Everywhere
know.
does that.
But at the moment, we're on about them, aren't we?
Yeah, but Leslie, they're not independent of the rest of the economy. Everywhere pays people as little as they can possibly get away with. Huh?
They are part of it. But
Yeah, they're part of
a big
it.
part of it.
Yeah, but so is the government. They don't get a pass.
But it's up to the road haulage managers to get together and sort it out. You cannot keep on blaming
Leslie.
the government. Doesn't matter which party's in. You cannot keep on blaming the government. for
If
this,
governments
that,
in
and the
Europe
other.
provide for their drivers, then of course it's this government's problem.
It is the road haulages, the drivers, they should be asking for it. There's unions out there, they should be asking for it.
Why
as well.
should they have to ask for something that's already provided just over the water?
I quite agree with you. But
No, but you're not agreeing with me. You're saying the opposite. That it's their fault because they haven't asked for something that is provided in Europe for nothing. Shouldn't be for them to ask or beg for facilities that are, reasonable for their life and their working environment and for their health. Why should they have to ask for stuff like that? Plus, if they asked, the government would have said no. Until they're desperate. Only when they're desperate, only when the negative headlines start piling up, do they actually do anything about it. And they only do something about it in order to stop the negative headlines. They'll do just enough to either distract us about something else or to airily announce that they have solved the problem by not really solving the problem. They're not really interested in solving the problem. They're just interested in managing news headlines. Which is why we've got this the government, which does seem to be caught by surprise about absolutely everything that comes along. This is the reason. They don't appear to be that interested in anything. But they're forced to do something every now and again by a tsunami of negative headlines. Oh well, we'll say I don't know. We'll create 5,000 visas. I know we got 100,000 drivers short, but we'll get 5,000 to come, and then the press will concentrate on that part, and then we can skip away and fight each other over who gets to use chevening for the weekend. That's as ridiculous as it is. Oh, look, past 12:30, but only just. This is LBC, the news headlines with Zora Sullivan.
Shut up.
I can't. Tobias texts, "Hi Nick, The how dare they come here and take our jobs is now how dare they not come here and take our jobs. James tweets, simply if everyone who drives a car drove or rode a 125cc motorcycle, the fuel would last longer. He says, I can get 250 miles on one tank, and that's 12 litres of fuel. Also less traffic and more fun. Fun? Yeah, I seriously doubt that. A 125cc motorcycle. You know what would be good on if you could modify them a bit? Put 2 extra wheels on and put a steel weatherproof cage on the top with 4 seats, heating and a sat-nav. Somebody should invent that. Woolwich. Hello, Richard.
Nick.
Richard.
Hello. Leslie, your previous caller, she called the wrong show, didn't she? She sounded like a local Tory chairperson. What was she doing on?
Well, you can call to give an alternative opinion. I just didn't agree with that opinion, that she whitewashes all responsibility from the government for the situation that we find ourselves in. It's their fault.
Exactly. I want to talk about the Muppets, but I just want to say, Nick, if I may, there's an LBC presenter who bangs on all the time about his book. And the thing that I find amazing about you is that you've written 7 of them. You've authored 7 books. and so I want to give a plug on your behalf.
Oh, yes.
Because I never hear you plug your own books, and they are actually utterly brilliant. And I recommend people should read them because they are really, if you kind of want to get a little piece of Nick during the week, just read his books. They're fantastic. There you go.
Well, I appreciate that. I've written 7? Surely not.
Yeah, 7. You have.
I find that hard to believe. Probably a better idea might be to avail yourself of the podcast that I do, because I do 3, one of which is this show. Friday and Saturday night shows get squirted up the internet as podcasts. We take the news and the ads out, which makes it quicker to listen to. You'll use less electricity, and no one will superglue their face to your driveway. It's called Nick Abbott The Whole Show, and there's another one called Nick Abbott Habit. I do 3 podcasts, one with Cameron Giffen and 2 just me. One's this show, and the other's called the Nick Abbott Habit, which I'm doing from old shows, clips from old shows, which, until the one that's just out, were COVID-free. They were from shows before the Invisible Menace had ever been heard of. But I got up to the point, because I'm doing it, what do you call it when you do things by time? Not alphabetically, the other one.
Chronically?
Chronically, yes. Yeah, chronically. I couldn't think of the word chronically. Yeah, chronic. Yes, I came up to the point, and it came as a surprise. January 2020, I say the word coronavirus for the very first time, because this news is coming in from China of something strange that's going on. So it's a bit weird to relive that, because I'm just chortling away at, this news that's coming in, having no idea about what's to come. It's a bit alarming. But that's called the Nick Abbott Habit. And that was out on Monday, the very first time I ever talked about the Invisible Menace. But anyway, that's not what you called.
No, and they're on every week. I heard a caller, I think yesterday or the day before, saying that he thought they were on at irregular moments.
Yeah.
But they are uploaded every week.
They are.
Yeah. But what I want to say, Nick, if I may, is about Kermit the Frog, because I was listening today again to the song "It's Not Easy Being Green," and for once my English literature degree has served me well. Maybe it hasn't served me well for anything else, but because the song starts, it's not easy being green, but it ends, I'm green, it's the colour I want to be.
That's right.
And the thing I'm curious about is, why did Johnson focus on the first part of that song, which is it's not easy being green, and rather than focusing on the end of the song saying, I'm green, it's the colour I want to be. And so my analysis or my thinking was, first of all, I think he was a plonker for just basically bringing that up in front of all of those amazing dignitaries. I just think I didn't think he served any purpose whatsoever, and I think it fell very flat.
Well, did it ever? Yeah, and you could see it in his eyes. I mean, he's not used to addressing a group of people to complete silence and indifference. And you can see in his eyes this sort of terror coming across his eyes, because none of his act is working with that crowd, because he's normally addressing fans and sycophants. But not there, he wasn't. No, so none of his childish love me act worked with that crowd.
Very, very flat and painfully flat. But I thought, you talked earlier about how aspects of his speech or his talk kind of gave away some clues. Yeah. And I thought, for me, this gave away an almighty clue, which he was focusing on. It's not easy being green, rather than so the glass is half empty, rather than focusing on, I'm green, it's the colour I want to be, which is the glass half full. And I actually think he is okay. I have no data to back this up, other than the stuff he wrote in his articles. But I do think that this guy has a skepticism around the environment, and I thought that it kind of came out a little bit in his choice of emphasis on that particular song, even though that song he should never even have raised the issue of Kermit the Frog.
And that's what you got with your English degree.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
That really has come in tremendously useful. An excellent use of 3 years and all of the money associated with that. Good work. Thanks a lot, Richard. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, I think it was a racist diatribe about green people. Have I actually finished all of my texts and tweets? Wow, I have done very well. I can't believe I normally don't do that. I'm way ahead of schedule. Now I can concentrate on some of these calls. Bethnal Green, hello, Azad.
Yeah, hello, Nick. First-time caller.
Good man.
So what it is I was trying to say, I'm a bus driver. I've been driving the buses for the last 10 years.
Right.
And what I've realised with the bus industry, a lot of our drivers, colleagues, we're not happy with the terms, conditions, and it's been going on for quite a long time. But we're just stuck. We don't have other options or any other driving jobs. But now that there's shortages in lorry and haulage drivers and rigid Class 2 drivers for supermarkets and stuff, we drive the same size buses. The buses are the same size as these lorries.
Yeah.
So if the government and TfL spoke to these independent companies, because all the London bus companies are privatised, so we could have been loaned to other truck companies, haulage companies, and we could have done some of the delivery jobs as extra drivers, and then after 3-4 months or 6 months period, we could have gone back to our buses. Because the Christmas is coming up and the busy time of year is coming up. So that would have made sense. Because a lot of the drivers, ex-drivers, they've got lorry license and they've got Class 2, Class 1 license already. It's just they just need a bit of brushing up.
But isn't the problem with that, though, that if the bus drivers left en masse to lend a hand delivering in lorries, then there's going to be a lot of people waiting at bus stops for buses that aren't coming.
Well, not all the drivers. A few drivers from each depot, and spread them out in London or Greater London or within the M20. Well, I'm in East London, so I will say M25 is my ring. So within that M25, just scatter drivers out there, it will help. It will help the demand, the supply chain. It will help the supply chain.
And you don't have to take any further tests or exams or anything like that to be able to just climb into a cab?
Well, I believe the CPC, I think they might have to do that CPC, because I believe we've got a CPC license. We've got the CPC, the professional competence of professional, the professional competent license. We've got that for the PHV. But for I believe for the LGVs and the
Oh my God,
HGVs,
there's way too many acronyms. I've got no idea what you're talking about anymore.
Yeah, anyway, it's just another competent test that they need to do. That,
okay.
Yeah, it's just a brush on that.
Yeah. You know what? I skipped the competence test to do this job. Can you believe that?
Yes.
Thanks a lot, Azad. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
Come on, we're running late.
Yeah, I do have detailed files about what European newspapers are writing about what's happening here. I guess you can just imagine what they're saying. If I don't get around to it, then whatever it is that you imagine they're saying is probably exactly what they're saying. But I do have a couple of calls I must take, because otherwise it would be rude. Humberside. Derek.
Hi, Nick.
Derek.
Correction as usual.
Thanks.
No, I was just thinking you called from Tory HQ earlier on saying, don't blame Boris, don't blame the government. It's just typical, isn't it? But what I was thinking on the news, there was on getting 5,000 chicken pluckers in, and a load of 5,000 lorry drivers in, and you know what's going to come next, don't you? Is Boris has saved Christmas.
Yeah.
So we've all got our food in our bellies for Christmas Day, not forgetting that he ruined last year's Christmas, didn't he? And probably killed another 50,000 people by telling people they could all meet, even though
That is what they're aiming at. Boris saves Christmas. That's the headline that they're working for the next 2 months.
Yeah, you can just see it now in the papers. That is going to be right across the Telegraph, the Sun, and all the rest of it.
Express. Boris saves Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we appreciate it, Boris.
Thank you.
We know you're doing your best.
Yeah, he's but I just wish the Labour Party would get their act together. But I mean, it's just beyond
don't hold your breath, Derek.
No, I don't see. I mean, you got that McCluskey coming out today and saying Labour would never get in power as long as Keir Starmer's
that's
leader.
Exactly what they don't want. I mean, they got a conference. They got all eyes on them, and they're busy wrestling each other to the ground so that the Tories can just step nimbly over them. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks a lot, Derek. 0345 6060 973. Gaz tweets, Nick, last 15 minutes, can you just nail out these European papers in what they are saying about the mess the United Kingdom has got itself into? Yeah, OK. I'll just take one more call and then maybe I'll do that. Birmingham. Hello, Russell.
Hi, Nick.
Russell.
Hi. Right, 2 points, if I may. Firstly, just what the guy, I think it was from Harrogate, the bus driver was saying about bus drivers going over to drive heavy goods vehicles.
Yes.
OK, it's not that simple, because I found this out. I've been in the heavy goods industry in and out for some 17 years. And I was made redundant due to the pandemic. So I luckily retrained as a bus driver throughout that, gained employment, and I'm still in employment. Now, I'd got a heavy goods Class 1 licence before I took my bus driving PSB and CPC, thinking, brilliant. When I've took my CPC course, if I don't like the buses, I can jump straight back on the trucks. But like that guy was saying, you can't just do that, Nick. The CPC, the Certificate of Professional Competency, is different from a bus driver to a truck driver. So even though you're licensed to drive buses with your CPC, you're not allowed to do it on vehicles. You have to retake it. So the drivers that were furloughed, that have gone out of the industry, have now got to repay to take that CPC test to get them back in.
Right.
Okay, and my second point about bringing the Polish drivers back, well, Polish, Romanian, wherever, all those drivers during the pandemic went back to their own countries. They maybe have now found other jobs over there, hence they don't necessarily want to come back and take up truck driving back in this country. What the government need to do, instead of relaxing, in my opinion, Nick, instead of relaxing these rules on the visas, what they should actually be looking at, and you guys could help with this, pushing it forward, is relaxing the CPC rules so the drivers in this country whose CPC qualification has expired can get a bit of a break through that CPC course, which is 35 hours every driver has to take per 5 years.
And it's just like a driving test, is it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Right,
but
okay.
the modules, Nick...
I thought that they were relaxing them. I thought they were making it easy. I thought that they'd cancelled the bit about you needing to know how to reverse, which seems pretty important to me.
Yeah, Nick, that's not in your CPC. That's purely in your practical test, Nick.
Right. So what does the CPC do then?
The CPC is various different modules, i.e. you have to study driver's hours for the United Kingdom and Europe, and then there's safe loading, straps,
right. So basically how to be a lorry driver.
You got it, exactly.
Right, okay.
Nailed it. Now, it's completely different.
As somebody who doesn't really know anything about that, it doesn't seem like a great idea to make it easier to pass.
Yeah, but a CPC course is not a practical driving course. If you've got 30,000 HGV drivers, I've plucked that figure out the air, Nick, in this country, whose CPC has expired. Those drivers, Nick, may have been driving for 20, 25, 30, 35 years. They know how to drive these heavy goods vehicles.
Well, you say that, but then most of the people on the road have been driving a good long while, but I still see morons do stupid things on a regular basis. So just because they passed a test doesn't mean to say that they actually know what they're doing. No, I'm not talking about lorry drivers, I'm just talking about everybody on the road now.
Yeah,
I'm running out of time here, Russell, but I have one question for you.
Mm-hmm.
As a bus driver, do you ever get taught to charge away from a bus stop while people with shopping are trying to find their seat so that they're slammed around the bus like a pinball?
No, if you do that, then if you pull away, like briefly, just say, if you're on a bus, an elderly person gets on, or a person with shopping, or especially a mother with children, you have to wait for those people to be seated. If you pull off, those people fall over, you're dismissed, period. End of, no argument.
Right, well, that's not my experience of buses, but OK then. Thanks a lot, Russell. 034, I don't know why I'm reading the number out anymore, because I think that's got to be it. Nick from Birmingham texts, I have an idea. Why don't Insulate Britain start an insulation company and go around insulating homes instead of causing pollution by playing chicken on the M25? I think it's a little more complicated than that, but OK. This says, leave Boris alone, he's doing his best. Always one of those. Lisa Bird tweets, well, this has just finished me off. John Lewis have run out of scones. I assume that if it's John Lewis, it's scones. John Lewis don't sell scones, do they? That would be a Waitrose thing, or is that what you mean? You can't get any scones in Waitrose. They only sell scones.
Affirmative.
I think you'll find that is correct. All right, I've run out of time. I'll just give you a flavour. This is a European newspaper's view of what's happening here. The front page of the French outlet Shall I do the accent?
No.
Liberation featured a finished roll of toilet paper with the final sheet emblazoned with Brexit above the headline, "The Future That Failed to Deliver." The paper wrote, labour shortages, disrupted logistics chains, missing products, departures of European citizens. With the gradual end of the COVID crisis, the United Kingdom begins to see in concrete terms the consequences of its exit from the European Union. The German magazine Der Spiegel's coverage of the issue is headlined, "In the Kingdom of the Empty Shelves," and warns supply bottlenecks could become even more drastic. They said after Brexit, migrant workers from Eastern Europe are no longer welcome in the UK, so the country is now missing 100,000 truck drivers and goods. The Barcelona-based daily La Vanguardia compared the empty shelves, closed KFCs, fruit rotting in the field, and empty vending machines to the boycotted Cuba. Oh, great. We're like Cuba now, except we ain't got no salsa and we ain't got no cigars. Oh, well. Still, could be worse. Can't think how off the top of my head, but Bodger's probably dreaming up some way of making it worse. I'll be back tonight at 10 o'clock when we'll run through whatever nightmare has unfolded in the intervening period. If you want to listen to this back, then, as I mentioned before, we do stick this and the Friday show up on the internet as podcasts. We take the news and the ads, we strip them out. We call it Nick Abbott, The Whole Show. If you just do an internet search on my name, Nick Abbott Podcasts, then the three that I do will appear as though by magic. Ian Payne will be here from 4 o'clock, but right now it's Clyde Bull.